I'd be the first person to say that Sonic the Hedgehog has some incredible games, with fun levels, gripping stories, and banger music. Sonic with a Scarf also exists. In this video, I'm going to be making bad, with an asterisk, Sonic games in LEGO, starting from the very first 3D Sonic game and making our way to Sonic Boom! Rise of Garbage. The asterisk is there because at the end of the day, you can enjoy any game that you want. I won't pop out of the screen and stop you from having fun with a Blue Rodent game. So if you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing or becoming a channel member. Either helps support what I do. Let's get started. The very first 3D Sonic game was Sonic 3D Flicky's Island. Flickies sounds like a word middle schoolers would use to describe boogers. Either way, America knows it as simply Sonic 3D Blast. It released in 1996 and I'll let this cutscene speak for itself. Let's not be too harsh, I'm sure it was revolutionary for its time. Here's our base that we'll be building off of. For our first build, I'll be basing it off Spring Stadium Zone because it has the prettiest colors. I started by tiling off the base and laying down plates to remind me where to build. This build will probably end up being the simplest one we tackle, but that doesn't mean I don't have to try. I'm sure there's someone out there who's been waiting for the moment where the LEGO Sonic guy builds Sonic 3D Blast, and I cannot let them down. To build the springs, I used 4 1x2 slopes to create a circular build. Next, I added a life preserver element. Using a dish and a 1x1 stud, I put it all together. Well, almost. It doesn't fit as snugly as I'd like, but it looks pretty cool. Another thing you might notice is a segment of the build has been modified to be a brick lower than everything else. I put together this handy build using cylinder pieces to allow the LEGO switches, which normally would be used for basic things like launching a man into a LEGO city, but I can place them upside down to represent the unsprung spike traps. In portions of the level, the floor is diagonal, so to get this across, I'm simply laying tiles on slopes. Next, I'll place a shield power-up and red and white checkered patterns for Sonic to spring to. After roughly 15 minutes, I finished our first build of the video. Here's the final design. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. The color palette is way more vibrant than the Sonic games tend to be. I still can't get over the joystick build. It's so simple, but I've never seen it done before. It gives a unique shape that I'll have to file away for future builds. This build made me realize how few green and blue tiles I have, and some of these are filthy. I did my best to clean them off, but you can still see some sticker residue. I have to keep an eye on the pad wall to see if LEGO throws me a bone. They never do, let's be honest. Oh, Instagram got to see this and several other Sonic builds early, so if you're interested in that kind of thing, follow me over there. Link is in the description. Let's move on to the next video game. Pause. Do you have a few coins jingling around in your wallet? I've got the perfect use for them. For only 99 cents a month, you can be an inspiration shill. You'll get a badge letting everyone know that you're better than them, fun emojis designed by Blazing Bricks, and early access to iSlop. Please consider becoming a member. Blazing has been locked in my basement for so long. I pay him, but money has no use down there.
And now for something completely different.
Next on our list is Sonic and the Secret Rings, released in 2007. It's the first of what's dubbed the storybook games. It acts as a retelling of an established story using Sonic the Hedgehog characters. In this case, the theme is Arabian Nights, meaning we get to see Sonic fight a genie. If that wasn't enough, this game received a 69% on Metacritic. It is peak. This game was a Wii exclusive, so I never got to play it, but after watching through some gameplay, I opted to build the escape sequence that occurs shortly after defeating the Ifrit Golem. Mostly cause I love the aesthetic and want to utilize lights in a Sonic build again. The first thing I did was modify the base to allow space for lights underneath. I also surrounded the area with yellow and orange bricks to help influence the colors of the light. You may recall in my Sonic Colors build, I opted for creating a platform of transparent panels and then laying them on its side. I did that again here, but instead of placing each piece in a nice orderly fashion, I dumped it haphazardly to fill in all the empty space. Next, I used the brickhead bricks and jumper plates to create a sandstone texture. You can see in the gameplay, the area has a steampunk desert style, and I really want to emphasize that in my build. After a bit of work, here's where we're at. This is the specific part I looked at for my build right as Sonic is entering a precarious bridge with hedgehog squishers that he must avoid. I started working on that next, mostly trying to nail down the color palette I wanted to use. To really emphasize the steampunk style, I lined the sides of the bridge with dark gray jumper plates and used 2x2 sloped pieces to give the bridge a bit more girth. To recreate the floor's design, I used modified tiles and jumper plates to give it some texture. Guys, if you're an aspiring mock builder, a great tip I found is trying to avoid using strictly tiles whenever possible. Jumper plates, these modified tiles, or even exposed studs add so much more texture to the build that you should strive for. Also, Brickhead's bricks are amazing, especially this one. It has 4 extra studs than the standard one. I used a pillar of these to create an industrial grade pipe, adding dark orange tiles and plates to cover it up. After some off-camera mining, I finished the squisher, so all that's left to do is add some rings and Sonic himself. And now we're done. I love a good steampunk aesthetic, so it was a treat to get to build it in today's video. Everything came together in a perfect way, and the lights add so much, as usual. You should totally check out my Sonic Colors video if you haven't already. Anyway, let's move on to the next game. Sonic and the Black Knight, the second storybook game. It released in 2009 and reimagines the story of King Arthur but with Sonic characters. I don't think fans of the Round Table and Sonic fans share a cafeteria table, and that sentiment seems to hold true because Sega delisted the game from retailers in 2010. It got a 3.9 from IGN, but that doesn't really mean much. On Metacritic, it got a 54, which is close to a passing grade, I guess. Anyway, we're not here to criticize Sega's mixed bag, we're here to build their mixed bag, so let's get started on the build. I started off by redesigning the base to be 2 plates lower than the surrounding black border. I'm trying something a little different for this build. Rather than using the standard green plates to create the environment, I'm swapping it out in favor of plant stems. To prepare for this, I placed 1x1 studs with holes in the center around the area. Now all that's left to do is place the plant stems. Nah, I'm just kidding. We can't do that without giving it a healthy dose of water to help it grow. I doubt y'all want to watch grass grow though, so let's skip ahead. Here's the completed base. Next, let's add a few flowers to spruce it up. And next we're going to build a segment of Stonehenge. I'm placing a column of Brickhead bricks and then I'll build around it. Here's the 2 columns and then a third one to connect the 2. Now all we need to do is plan where our minifigures will go and design the path around that. For the path, I'm using various round plates to give off the cobblestone vibe, stuff like the 2x2 dish, 2x2 plate with rounded bottom, and 1x2 rounded plates. This technique is very different from what I normally do, but some other LEGO creators have done some very helpful tutorials. I'll try to remember to link one of them in the description. I would volunteer myself, but I'm an infant when it comes to this style of building. I still like how it came together though. All that's left to do is place down our minifigures and conduct the final showcase. This build is on the smaller end, but I worked hard to include some new techniques and push myself to texturify everything. Is that a word? I don't think it is, but push me to give everything more texture doesn't really flow as well. Also, this is the first and most likely last time Stonehenge has appeared on my channel, so let's savor it for a moment.
That's enough. Hit it!
Ah, the final game of the video, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. It came out in 2014 to... very mixed thoughts. I won't beat around the bush this time. This game is pretty bad. It got a 32 on Metacritic, which is the worst score yet. However, its redeeming factor is it has Metal Sonic in it. Now, that alone isn't crazy. He's in a lot of games, but it means I can finally include him in a build for the first time in the series. Here's the base we're working with. I started off by tiling off the area, yada yada yada. We already know this by now. Next, I covered the area with blue plates to represent water, tiling off the base with translucent blue tiles, and cheese slopes to create some waves throughout the build. I left 2 spots for columns to hold up the platform, and for this build's color palette, I'm opting for various colors of tan and a small dose of sand green to offset it. Here's what we're building. It shows the Sonic Boom Gang fighting Metal Sonic while running through a classic, generic ruined temple, complete with loop-de-loops that only make sense when a hedgehog is running through them. As I built the checkered pattern for the base, I tossed in some exposed plates and angled tiles to try to get across the fact that it's a ruined temple, and next I began building up the white walls. I really like the design of this because I'm able to use this piece right here. I got a lot from the pad wall, but haven't had too many chances to use them. I started adding details like rocks being exploded by Metal Sonic, some broken columns for the gang to run through, poorly rendered trees, and a boost ring to launch them into the great unknown. Now it's time to add the minifigures, but I still felt like something was missing. I noticed in the gameplay you can see golden structures throughout the level. While I am limited with what kind of gold Lego pieces I have at my disposal, I have this unique golden fence piece, so I built a row of them to put behind the white walls and trees. And now I think we're done. Time for the final showcase. I think this is the first mock I've designed for a Sonic game I don't really care about at all, positive or negative. Sonic games usually have something that stands out, even if I never got around to playing them, but not with this game. Regardless, I think the final build is cool. I like the rocks with the lasers ricocheting off them. Metal Sonic is amazing to have in Lego form. Well, kind of. This is a custom, but honestly it looks exactly like how I imagined Lego would translate the character. The only two changes I made to the official Sonic minifigures were giving Sonic a scarf and Tails a little pouch. We joked in the Discord server about how to make Sonic Boom's knuckles, and this was the very cursed result. Well, that is the last build of the video. I hope you enjoyed. I wanted to get some of the less desired games done, but the next Sonic video has some very heavy hitters, including Sonic Frontiers and Sonic Generations. I've already started on the builds for those games, and I'm quite excited with how they're progressing, so be sure to subscribe so you know when I release them. Anyway, thanks for watching, keep on inspiring.